Welcome to Rise and Shine with Alissa. I am your hostess, the consultress, here bringing you interesting, innovative, and inspiring conversations from the front lines of entrepreneurship, parenting, and investing. I have the pleasure and the privilege of talking to amazing minds throughout the country and the world because of my entrepreneurial pursuits. And it is the thing that has informed my pivots, my growth, and my expansion throughout the years. So here on Rise and Shine, I like to introduce all of you to the amazing people I get to meet out here in the hybrid, virtual, and in-person space. So I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Chuck Glover, who I did get to meet in person, in real life. And you see, this smile is genuine because this is a genuine man. Chuck, welcome.
Well, with an introduction like that, how can I not be smiling? I mean, I'm beaming, glowing, far beyond what I deserve. Maybe we should manage expectations here a little bit. I hope
Listen,
I have something to add to contribute to somebody. That's the main
well, I consider my spidey sense for good character pretty
thing.
sharp. And I'm really blessed to have been introduced to you because at that conference, we sat next to each other, maybe by accident, just because we both wanted a front seat view. And, the little bit of banter and stuff, it just, to me, it felt like I already knew you. Like there was just this openness and this willingness for you to just share who you are. And there was no pretense. And that was really refreshing. And then I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a speaker. And you got up on stage and gave a presentation.
That's what I said, managing expectations. I don't consider myself a speaker. I'm just a talker. But to the point you made, if I could take just a second, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in there's a spirit, there's an intervention, there's something that puts us in places when we choose to open ourselves up to it. I liken it to back when we were kids. We used to do this activity where we connected dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we drew lines to connect all the numbered dots. And when we looked at the page, it was just a bunch of dots. And then after we connected all of them, there was a picture there, a deer and a couple of bunny rabbits or something like that.
Yeah.
And I look at life like that wherever we are in life, we don't see it in the moment. But right now, our dots are connecting. All the decisions we've made in life, the events we've participated in, that we've created, that the situations that have happened, all of those things kind of are our dots all over a page, and we don't see it. When we look back on it, when we look back on our life, we see the picture. Like my picture 5, 6, 7 years ago was not a pretty picture. It was pretty ugly. I was not in a great space financially, as well as emotionally. But since then, many things, the picture's changed a lot since then. Better decisions, more proactive, taking action to do something about the situation, so to speak.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to get into all that, but
well, but this is the thing. When we look back, hindsight is 2020. We know we have
amen.
perfect vision when we've already experienced something and we have some distance between us and the event.
Yeah.
And then we can look back and make sense of it because that is the information. That's our library, our experiences that help us to synthesize and not just have knowledge in our heads about what we think, but to really have that experience of, what got me here, and then using that library to develop wisdom for where you want to go next, because then you get to choose where you're going, where there will be. So I love that because sometimes we get this myth in our thinking that like I start here, I end there, and it's a straight line in between. Ha! 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 Like, baloney.
Yeah.
It looks more like a roller coaster than most people care
circuitous,
to admit, but we all pretend so on Facebook, right? But no,
it's
I'm
a
just
circuitous
kidding.
route, to say the least.
Yeah. And so the fact that you made a pivot in your recent past is kind of like the magic of today. Like I always say that we live in the age of disruption where nothing's going back to quote unquote normal. Everything, especially with the advent of all of this technology and all of these accelerations and disruption of industries, everything gets to be revised. Everything gets to be reorganized in a way that fits better to create a new tomorrow. Like that to me is what the age of disruption really is about. It's about, upending all of our we think we knows into what if something else is possibles, and take have that like ownership, have that hand in creating that pivot. So, when you say 7 years ago, I was not in the same financial or emotional space as I am today, like, anybody else been there? Because I know I have. The life that I live today was, I could not have even imagined it more than 4 years ago. I literally would have had no point of reference for where I am. So, if you'll indulge me a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about that pivot point of where you were and what kind of helped you to make new decisions to move forward?
Sure, under one condition, you interrupt me and get me back on track if I'm going somewhere else. But basically,
I
several,
will.
it happens to be, it was about 7 years ago, but I think I said several years ago. I mentioned my picture. It was pretty bleak because um, poor financial decisions. I'm from a blue collar family. My dad was an electrician. Mom was a housekeeper for many years. I'm through the 50s and 60s and 70s and so on. So I wasn't raised in a household of business or entrepreneurship, or there was talk of business, talk of investing, none of those kind of things. It was just you get out of high school, maybe go to college, you get a job, work 40 years, and that was life. Well, that's the environment I was raised in. I came out of college and I started teaching. I'm a former school teacher, so I taught for 13 years. I was administrator for 14 years, but all that time I wanted to have my own business. Knew nothing about business, no business classes, degrees, or anything else. I was a
Oh
school
man, we're
teacher.
birds of a feather then.
Oh, really? We work for the government, right? But I wanted to do something else. You want to make money, you have dreams and things you want to do. So that's where I was, and I tried a few things over the decades. I tried a few things along the way. They didn't really work out. I take that back. I didn't really work out. I've often said, if someone really wants to learn about themselves, you want to learn deep down what's inside you, take an opportunity to do commission sales. You will learn whether you have some initiative or whether you don't. And I didn't. I didn't make much at it. But anyway, moving forward a number of years, the situation was financial pressures on our family, debt, a lot of credit card debt we'd built up. We were doing okay. Lived in a nice house and stuff like that, but we were, month to month, right? Paycheck to paycheck. And then the paychecks ran out. Excuse me. I had a couple of, after I left teaching, so I wanted to start my own business. Well, it kind of started off floundering. So I took a job here and a little bit more consulting, took a job there, which I got laid off. So finally, the paychecks ran out, the money was running out, the bills were still there. So because of those pressures, my wife, and probably very smartly so, my wife decided she would go a different direction. So we parted ways, we divorced. And any little bit you do have, we had a life insurance policy. I had a small 401 or an IRA. We had to cash all those in to get the money to pay whatever bills we could pay. So she went another direction. And so well, of course, that's financially that's devastating, because anything you do have, all of a sudden it's split, it's gone, legal fees, all this kind of thing. And that's when, a few years ago, my son, who knew nothing about real estate investment, got interested in real estate investing. So he read this book entitled Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki.
Yep.
And of course, my kids knew the situation I was in. The house had just gone into foreclosure. That was my first experience. I'm a real estate investor now. I do private money lending. And my first exposure to real estate investment was in a flipper. Somebody who buys houses, fixes them up and sells them, bought my house from me, which was going into foreclosure. So that was my first exposure to real estate.
Can I just ask you a question really quick?
Yeah.
Because I have a bunch of people who've kind of asked me a similar question about the
Okay.
foreclosure situation. So, like, thank you. And thank you for painting the picture of like kind of what got you to this like inflection point space of like, some things have got to change around here.
Yeah.
And that when you're in the position of being like a looming foreclosure, a lot of folks think that it's predatory to buy a house from someone who is pre-foreclosure.
Oh,
And I just want to hear out of the first person point of view perspective. How did that go? How did that feel for somebody to take that foreclosure house off your hands?
oh, it was a burden lifted. It was like a godsend because I hope they bought the house they bought from me. I hope they made $100,000 profit off of it. They saved me from foreclosure because we were able to pay off the mortgage. They paid cash for the house, paid foreclosure margin. I had a few $1,000s. I can go out and find a rental property and pay a couple months down payment on that. Um, the thing about real estate, and there are real estate investors out there, there are a few of them here and there that are somewhat predatory. Generally speaking, the investors I know, I've met, that I do deals with all the time, that we support each other, and we network together. We're not in the property business. A solid investor is not in the property business. They're in the people business. That flipper came along at a time that saved me from certain bank foreclosure and bankruptcy. And then I wouldn't have had the cash to find a rental property. If I'd have just lost the house, I literally would have been homeless. Uh, I mean, what do you put? What kind of value do you put on that?
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing you say is the glass is half full or half empty, depending on your experience of it. And in this case, that foreclosure was a burden to you. That the eventuality, if nothing else changed, or if this investor didn't come and help you to get out of this situation without having to go through perhaps financial nuclear winter, right? But this what became a win for you because it helped you to remove yourself from a situation that you couldn't solve by yourself. Like someone came in as in partnership and gave you a win situation because they had the means and the ability to create that win for you and for them too. Like it's not a zero sum game here. So this is like very interesting because a lot of people think, oh, it's, if they're in foreclosure, you must be like a vulture swooping in for the carcass. And that's, in my experience, is not the case. You have to transcend that thinking so that you can create win-win scenarios. And like you said about being in the people business, I never, before I came to real estate as an individual investor, I had a lot of money mindset issues. Like I was in that kind of lack thinking around, you earn some money, but that means you're taking money away from somebody and there's this push pull going on. But the industry of real estate for me helped me to expand my thinking that, no matter what level of income or what level of asset you're at, there's always situations that need solving and always creativity and care that go into making those things good solutions. So now here you are, you're in this space, your son reads cash flow quadrant, which I love that, figures out how to not be owner of his own business, owning a job, but how to build a business and become the investor where your money's working for you. So tell us about the upswing now, like on the other side of this gully, and then you found partnership with your son. What happened next, and how did you get to this place where you're a private money lender and real estate investor in your own right for the better part of a decade?
So I read the book, and this is where this goes back to the analogy about God connecting the dots. That you and I sitting together at that meeting wasn't just a coincidence. There's some spiritual direction to all this, and I don't mean a weird thing. It's just there's some connection that forms among people who are open to it. But anyway, I read the book Cash Flow Quadrant, and my son, he was just thinking about real estate investment. Since then he's gotten into it and he is tremendously successful. But I read the book. It was by Robert Kiyosaki, and the idea is it isn't about be a real estate investor. It's nothing like that. The book is how money works for you if you get past the notion that you have to work for it. So you start off as an employee, you're working for money. Then you want to be self-employed because you don't want a boss. You still are working probably twice as hard for the money. Then you become a business owner. This is the progression. Then you kind of take on some employees. So you become a business owner. And then the final stage is you finally get to a point where you might have some cash, you invest the cash, you look into investments, and then is when the money starts working for you. And I've made it to that point where right now, sitting here enjoying your company and doing what I'm doing in the comfort of my own home, I'm making money. Money is coming in. They call it mailbox money. So you work to work because, and so that's the trajectory. But back then, you have a choice. You can either continue in the pity party, and I say that because when I was getting that book, there was I was working through a lot of depression. I was wondering, should I go to a psychologist or somebody? But then it dawned on me, it's up, no matter who I talk to, no matter where I go, no matter who I talk to, and this is my own personal experience. I'm not giving any type of advice. It was up to me to change the situation. I could continue in the pity party, or I could do something, like you said, on the upswing. I chose the upswing, read the book, got into real estate investing. And that's why I'm a private money lender now. The investor that bought my house back a few years ago and saved me from homelessness, bankruptcy, and foreclosure borrowed money from a private money lender, a real estate investor, private money lender, that enabled him to buy my house and do a little paint and fix it up and then sell it. Then they paid the private money lender back their loan, short-term loans, just for a few months. So now I got into private money lending. So I have the opportunity now to do that, to help investors buy properties, which help people who are in similarly desperate situations. It is truly, it's a people business.
Yeah, and you're paying it forward. Like, this is what I
Yes.
keep hearing as you're talking is, I've been there and I've lived through this transformation. Now let me be part of the solution, right? We don't want to be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution. And, you became not only an entrepreneur as you were a parent, and you got the full suite now of entrepreneur, parent, and investor, which to me is the trifecta of awesomeness. It's like what I'm personally doing. So, like, high five to you, because this, to me, it's taking on responsibility of your own direction, your own choices, using that as time, money, and resource freedom creating tools and techniques so you could spend more time with the people you love, influence the world in a positive way. I mean, and maybe that's all sounds really idyllic, but um it begs the question, like, what kind of reality do we have to accept in this age of disruption where many new things are possible if we will just be willing to question our assumptions ahead of time? If we are just willing to look at what we think we know and say, well, what if that isn't true anymore? Or what if that has changed? A lot of times I think lazy thinking or complacency takes residence in our minds where we feel like I don't have a choice. I don't have an option. But Chuck, your story is expansive, that there's always another choice to be made if you are courageous enough to look at what you're considering as fixed. Now, my degree is in economics, and I love when there's multiple variables inside of any situation. To me, left and right, plus and minus, accounting really isn't for me. But where you have like supply and demand curves and things that people need and want, and like psychology behind all of this stuff, like, that's where true creativity and like solving the emergent problems of tomorrow, that's where they really come from. So to me, looking at things as Jack Canfield teaches, this upside downing of challenges, is I wonder what the opportunity that this is.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you used your foreclosure and your experience of separation to look at it in a way like, so what I do want is connection. What I do want is financial success. What I do want is love and positive relationships in my life. And it sounds like you have built that from the bottom up for yourself.
Yeah, the when I moved past this notion of listening, when I stopped listening to the most popular radio station in the world, WIIFM, which is an acronym that most people know, stands for What's in It for Me. When I
I
moved
love that you
past
just called it a radio station. That's great.
The most listened to radio station on earth, WIIFM. What's
Oh,
that?
and I know the song. I know the song they play there, right? It's like me, 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 right? Is that the one?
That's the one. And networking back in the day, I mean, I've always realized that it's important to connect with people. For many, for decades, for back in the day, from other business experiences, even though they didn't amount to much. Well, I take it back. They amounted to much for some people. They didn't for me because I didn't invest myself fully 100% in them. But once I get past the what's in it for me thing and think about how can this benefit someone else, what I found was based on a verse from Proverbs 19 that when I listen and accept teaching from wiser people than I, in this case, the Bible, of course, when I listen to and accept teaching from wise people, not just anybody, but people who are proven commodities, so to speak, they live with the speech and stuff like that. And I have the discipline to enact what I've learned. Knowledge, remember, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge applied is power.
That's right.
So when you learn and you develop the discipline to apply the process over and over and over, you have you learn the process and then you apply it over and over, tweak it a little bit here and there so it matches your business model and apply it over and over. You will accidentally stumble into success with your goal achievement, whatever that is. But once you move to the point of how will this benefit other people, when I aligned my purpose away from that radio station and aligned it with God's plan for my life, the business trajectory is kind of like this. And then it just goes economically, right? It goes off the chart.
Yeah, 100%. And that is part of the beauty of being alive in this time is that, the more we will be willing to pour into other people, that is actually very fulfilling to oneself. It's not like we have this myth that if I give myself of myself to other people, then I'll have none left for me. It's a little bit of a myth because I find the more that I give and that I'm connected with other people and I'm truly listening and being present with other people and saying, well, what about this? And how can I help you? It fills my cup. It's like, it doesn't actually look like a pitcher pouring out water. It looks like a pitcher like this pouring out water as the pitcher is getting bigger and more full. It's so weird, but it's the truth. It is, the more you focus on how to be of service, your life gets infinitely better. I'm a big believer of this principle. And I think there is a quote that I'm probably going to mash up right now. And I don't know who said it, but whatever. The more we help, we will get what we want only when we have helped enough other people get what they want.
That's Zig Ziglar. That's a Zig Ziglar quote.
There we are. See, I knew there was a reason you were here.
Book will see you at the top.
Yeah. So this is how I find most real estate investment projects to be. It's about creating joint ventures, creating win-win situations, and hey, creating wealth and time freedom at the end of the day, so we can sit in our living rooms and have these conversations and build even more goodness for other people.
On a weekday too.
What?
On a weekday too.
Yeah, on a weekday.
You can do it on a weekday if you want.
Cheers to that. Yeah. And so, I know there's a lot of people in the world who are probably resonating with you right now, because if I resonate with you and I bring you here, the people who listen are probably going to want to get to know you. So where can they go to learn more about you, or maybe see you speak, or as you say, I just talk a lot. Where can they see you talk a lot? And where can they go to connect with you to learn?
Well, interesting enough, I've up until this past March, I've never done speaking engagements, and since then I've done a number of speaking engagements. And I'll be speaking. I've been asked to be a presenter by Jim Ingersoll at this year's Deal Maker, which is in March here in Richmond, Virginia, March 28th, 29th, and 30th. It's a 3-day conference for real estate investors, and I've been asked to talk. And it's going to be a mindset for what is the mindset for massive achievement. That's kind of my working title.
There you go.
As far as connecting, My website is massiveachievement.net, N-E-T, massiveachievement.net. And if anybody wants to reach out, they can go there and click on contact and, just send me a little email thing and we can hook up.
There you are. And I know you're active on Facebook, so look up Chuck. He's friends with me. If you're friends with me, you'll find him very easily. Chuck, I really think that you're onto something big about, there's always room for a pivot, no matter what age, stage, or mindset you have or had, there's always room for more. There's always room for growth, and that is really inspiring. And I am just blessed to know you. I'm so grateful you spent time here with me and thereby with all of us. I want to just say cheers to you, cheers to us, and to a prosperous future, man. We broadcast Rise and Shine here every single Monday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So click like and subscribe. Don't miss another episode, and share this with your friends. This is the freedom we've all been looking for, ladies and gentlemen. So share the love and leave us comments below what you found most valuable and most useful. And we will see you next time, friends. Same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks, Chuck.